Tropical Storm Nicole will impact your weekend.
And in sports, women's basketball looks for their first win. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Taylor Mondragon.
And I'm Juliana Colant. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio.
Firefighters are battling a wildfire in the Wayne National Forest.
The Kimball Complex fire has burned more than 1,300 acres so far. The National Forest Service is asking people to avoid the south of Telegraph Hill Road between State Route 93 and Vernon Panther Creek Road in Lawrence County. The Forest Service says it started Tuesday as a series of smaller wildfires. Warm, dry, and windy conditions yesterday allowed the fire to grow in size. Officials are hoping rain tonight will help firefighting efforts. Man, it is just crazy how fast these fires can take over.
I know, it is. I really hope that the rain will come and help it. What have you been seeing so far on the radars?
Yeah, you guys, honestly, there's just been so much going on. I mean, we just had a hurricane just under a month ago and now another one. So we're going to be seeing a lot of those effects tonight. So let's take a look at the local radar and I'll show you what's going on right now. But in Athens today, we didn't see any disturbances or even any slight rainfall in our area. But as we all know, to the south of us, they have been experiencing some heavy downpours and they are still in some dangerous storm conditions. But again, here in Athens, we did not see any of that today or in any of our surrounding cities, as you can see here. So we didn't see any of that rainfall yet, but it is to be expected, which I'll get more into in my full weather forecast. But as you can see here today, we did reach the 70s, but right now it is currently 62 degrees and it's clear outside at the moment, but we are going to have some clouds piling in later, which I will get into. But as we take a look at our current temperatures across the board here, we're looking at some mid 60s to low 70s, but I'll get more into the effects of Hurricane Nicole in my full weather forecast.
Ohio Health announces $100,000 to the Outdoor Recreation Council of Appalachia. The money will be used for the Bailey's Trail system. Once complete, the system will have a range of trails from beginner to expert mountain bikers. Restored forest and Appalachian foothill vistas line the scenic trails visitors can hike. To manage the Bailey's Trail system with Orca partners with the Wayne National Forest. Currently, the system directly connects with the Chauncey and Doneville communities. It plans to build connections in the future with communities Nelsonville and Buckdale.
Republicans made even more gains in the West Virginia Senate and House of Delegates, where they already held the supermajority. Tuesday night, the GOP about swept the Senate races and flipped at least 6 seats. At least 7 seats were gained by Republicans. They hold an 85-9 advantage with 6 races uncalled. In the 34-seat chamber, the GOP increases their rolls from 23 to 29, with 1 race too early to call. 1/4 of the legislative ballot races had 0 Democratic candidates. Now the GOP holds its most lopsided legislature advantage in modern history. Donald Trump's top ally and advisor says he won't seek re-election. Robert Paduchik, who chairs the Ohio Republican Party, makes his announcement in a letter to state and central committee members following Tuesday night's sweeping GOP victories for U.S. Senate, Governor, Ohio Supreme Court, and state legislature. Paduchik says it's time for new leadership. He has faced criticism and litigation from some party insiders for his endorsement decisions and handling of party finances. Paduchik managed to avert an attempted ouster in September using a procedural maneuver, which put off a vote on a new chair until January.
Officials say a Cincinnati man who was convicted of pointing a rifle at law enforcement at a demonstration has been sentenced to 7 years and 2 months in prison. 59-year-old John F. Johnson is a leader of a pro-gun group. His sentence was announced yesterday in a joint statement from U.S. Attorney Michael A. Bennett, FBI Special Agent Jody Cohen, and Louisville Police Chief Erica Shields. In May, a federal jury convicted Johnson on charges of assaulting, resisting, or impeding law enforcement and brandishing a firearm during racial justice protests in Kentucky 2 years ago. Johnson and his group often demonstrate against white supremacy and police violence. When we return, taking a look at why inflation numbers are rising. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Zero and infinity. Mind-bending ideas. Discover how these concepts revolutionized mathematics.
The simplest ideas end up the most influential, the most profound.
Whoa! It's the story of nothing.
Who knew you could learn so much from pizza?
And everything.
It's all one big principle.
Zero to infinity on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
14 Gridiron Glory teams remain in the playoffs, and we're covering every last one of them. On Friday, action from Divisions 3 and 5 for Jackson, Sheridan, and more. We preview the Saturday showdowns in Divisions 6 and 7, including Nelsonville, York, and Waterford. And don't forget, voting for Player of the Year is live at woub.org/gridiron. We'll take a closer look at all 5 candidates Friday night at 11:30, but until then, remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
This is very exciting.
On Finding Your Roots, actors Nathan Lane
It makes me want to have a party.
and Leslie Odom Jr.
It is a real reimagining of self.
Dramatic stories from Ireland.
They were kicking them out.
I didn't know any of this.
And the startling discovery.
That is your grandpappy.
Wow.
The fact that you've gone back this far is overwhelming.
Tuesday at 8 on WOUB.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, we've got a trunk full of treasures from our 26th season tour all across America.
Whoa, okay.
It's in your face, it's very aggressive.
I was hopeful that not too many other people had seen it at the bottom of a box lot.
It may very well be the best painting she ever painted.
Oh, that's so great to hear.
Don't miss Antiques Roadshow Junk in the Trunk 11.
Monday at 8 on WOUB.
Inflation cooled more than expected in October. The prices we pay for everyday items are still high, but those increases are slowing. Big interest rate hikes may be in the rearview mirror, but analysts say there are still causes for concern about when we'll see real relief. Mike Valerio breaks it down for us.
The headline, better than expected news on inflation, as the rate of price increases is still falling from a 4-decade high. New data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics out Thursday show the higher prices we're paying for everyday items slowed further last month, dropping from a peak in June. Economic analyst Rana Farohar says American finances are strong and
you've also now got a report that says inflation is starting to dampen. Boy, that could be game-changing for the markets and for the American public in the next couple of years.
Still, analysts note prices in crucial areas remain higher than last year, and people are feeling the pinch.
What's particularly troubling is that the areas where we are seeing the largest and most consistent increases are categories that are absolute necessities, food, energy, and shelter.
As Thanksgiving approaches, food is still getting more expensive, but at a slower pace than earlier this year. There's also the renewed threat of a rail strike in early December, which could cripple the supply chain.
If you have renewed disruptions to the supply chain, that is going to add another element of price pressure that either pushes prices higher or just keeps them from falling like we'd like to see.
The question now, could this preview the end of big interest rate hikes?
The bottom line is, we need to see a sustained moderation in inflation pressures. One in a row is not a streak. We need a long winning streak.
The Fed makes its next rate hike decision on December 14th. I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
A new law could soon change the way you look for a job in New York City. Jen Sullivan talks about how the laws could impact you and why they could have ripple effects across the country.
Job hunting is getting a major upgrade. New laws are requiring employers to show pay ranges on job listings aimed at improving pay transparency.
This is huge.
It should go further. It should be all jobs.
New York City is now requiring companies with 4 employees or more to show the money up front, listing the salary or hourly wage range for any job posting or promotion that can be performed in NYC. Meaning even if it's a remote job, employers must comply. Civil rights attorney Nancy Smith says wage transparency is a major step toward closing the wage pay gap in the U.S. and says the change will impact women and people of color the most.
94% of jobs have a wage pay gap. And still, in 2022, women make 83 cents on the dollar.
Colorado put a law like this on the books last year, and in California, a similar law goes into effect on January 1st for employers with at least 15 employees. Experts say the new laws will be far-reaching since they affect 2 of the most populous areas in the U.S., which have many remote workers. Experts saying existing employees will be able to use the laws as a bargaining tool and advocate for themselves if they're underpaid.
It's an inspiring time to look at the candidate behavior, and I think it's a frightening time for employers because many are not prepared for that power shift.
Meanwhile, a few other states like Rhode Island and Maryland have legislation that requires employers to provide salary ranges upon request. For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
In New York, the city's Commission on Human Rights will enforce the new law. With the first violation, employers get a 30-day grace period to fix it. After that, the penalties can go up to $250,000.
Home prices across the U.S. rose this summer, even though the housing market was cooling. That's according to a new report by the National Association of Realtors. It tracked home prices in 185 cities over the summer and found prices increased in all but 4 cities. Nearly half of the cities saw double-digit increases from 2020. The price jumps have since slowed substantially due to the rise in mortgage rates. Experts say because of both rising prices and rates, the median income needed to buy a typical home is $88,000 and $300,000. That's almost $40,000 more than it was prior to the start of the pandemic. As we celebrate Veterans Day, we're taking a closer look at the veterans who need our help, those who defended us and our freedoms, but have no place to call their own. Mike Valerio reports.
Good morning. Are you a veteran?
From tent to tent in the nation's capital, in the shadow of the grandeur of Union Station.
No days wasted doing this job. No days wasted.
Navy veteran Hector Lugo, who was once homeless himself, has a mission, searching for fellow vets who survive without a home.
What branch of service have you served in?
He finds one barely moving on the granite, foot outstretched as the world walks by.
You know, I do have tears when I talk about them, when I'm talking to people who don't understand.
The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says it's on track to meet its goal of housing 38,000 veterans this calendar year.
Our outreach team goes out and engages veterans. We also provide supportive housing services.
Ilana Marmon and Sharon Haddock explain there's a greater emphasis now on giving homeless vets a place to live first, rather than waiting for long-term treatment to be finished for possible substance abuse or mental health issues.
The old school was veterans had to, be ready for housing. They had to be drug-free. With Housing First, we take you. If you're ready for housing, we get you into housing.
Getting the number of homeless vets down to 0 is the job of Veterans Affairs Secretary Dennis McDonough.
So, Mr. Secretary, what do you think you've done differently to bring that number down?
We aggressively work to identify by name our homeless veterans. Not only do we identify them by name, but we find out what it is that ails them and why are they in the situation that they find themselves.
McDonough points to more money from Congress, funds helping to finish new homes for veterans like these studios and one-bedroom apartments at the VA in West Los Angeles.
I think that the numbers, the amount of assistance that Congress has dedicated to this challenge and that local and state governments have dedicated to this challenge, there's no question about that.
The message from the VA and from formerly homeless vets like Hector.
I'm not going to quit on you because when you were out there, you were serving our country, you didn't quit on us.
In Washington, I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
The number of veterans experiencing homelessness is on the downturn and has been decreasing for more than a decade. When we come back, a look at how Hurricane Nicole will affect us at home. That story is still ahead.
And how much from Hurricane Nicole should we expect to see in the next couple days? Find out in my full weather forecast. And if you want more of Newswatch, you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
From Nashville, Tennessee's historic War Memorial Auditorium, celebrate songs of America's returning war veterans, co-written with top hit songwriters. Join forces with veterans in collaborative songs, born of hard truths that inspire and present the power of music to change lives. Stories from the front lines in lyric and melody, songwriting with soldiers.
Friday at 10 on WOUB.
They got so much mud here, it's the first time I ever saw the ground put in for a transfer.
For the men and women of the armed forces, the USO has provided a powerful connection to life back home.
They're putting on shows for people whose lives are on the line.
And it's a moving experience for everyone involved.
It becomes very real to you.
Building morale where it's needed most.
To see troops laugh in the combat zone is pretty remarkable.
On USO for the troops.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
Zero and infinity. Mind-bending ideas. Discover how these concepts revolutionized mathematics.
The simplest ideas end up the most influential, the most profound.
Whoa! It's the story of nothing.
Who knew you could learn so much from pizza?
And everything.
It's all one big principle.
Zero to infinity on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
The clouds are building up in our region by the minute as we speak, as the storm is exiting the southeast and moving up into our area. So we're going to see a lot of the effects of that. So I would say that today the weather was kind of a tease here in Athens. Kind of felt like summer again. We have been seeing a lot of that recently. But today we did have a temperature high of 71 and a low of 53. So this morning was a lot chillier, but it did warm up as the day went on. And for the most part, it was a pretty sunny, clear, and pleasant day, but the clouds are increasing. But we didn't see any disturbances or rainfall in Athens or in any of the surrounding cities today. Not like the South has seen, but we have not gotten any of those effects yet. As you can see here on a wider scale, we do have some light to heavy rainfall to the west of us and of course to the south. But again, none of that has hit us just yet, but hold your horses because it is coming in tonight. We are going to have lots of rain tonight with an overnight low of 53. So if you're out this morning, it's going to feel a lot like that, but I wouldn't recommend any sort of travel. We're going to have some poor flight conditions with this heavy cloud coverage and all of this rain coming in. I wouldn't really recommend going into a vehicle either. I won't be leaving the perimeter of my home. But as you can see here tomorrow, we do have a temperature high of 66 with a low of 37. But we do have a lot of precipitation tomorrow. A lot of that effect is coming in. We are expecting about 2 to 3 inches of precipitation tomorrow, so that is going to continue into Saturday as well. As you can see here, this looks a little alarming, but we do have some light to heavy downpour in our area and to the east of us. We are in this red zone, as you can see here, so we are going to be seeing some heavy downpour Saturday, and I hate to say it, but it is that time of year. It's November, so we might even be getting our first chance of snow. So you can see here, because our low on Saturday is 28 degrees and our high is 44, so it's going to drop by about 20 degrees this weekend, and we are still going to be seeing that rain on Saturday. But as we move into Sunday, that trend is going to stop for a bit there. It's going to be partly sunny with a high of 42 and a low of 22. So we do have some high pressure moving in at the end of the weekend, and that's going to give us some drier conditions, but it's still going to be pretty chilly, and that pattern is going to continue into Monday. It's going to be partly sunny again. We're going to have some clouds here and there, and it's going to be 43 degrees with a high of 28, or I'm sorry, excuse me, a low of 28. I don't remember the last time I saw these numbers in the 20s, but on Tuesday, it's going to be 44-degree high with a low of 30, and that rain is going to come back again on Tuesday. And as we move into Wednesday, the trend's going to continue. It's going to be 44 again with another low of 30. It's going to be another cloudy day. And on Thursday, we're going to have a cloudy day yet again with a high of 46 and a low of 31. So these dangerous storm conditions are still in the south right now, and we will be seeing the effects of that this evening.
Right now, Hurricane Nicole is unleashing fury on the state of Florida. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest from Jensen Beach.
Furious hurricane-force winds striking Florida. Life-threatening storm surge seeping into areas already hard hit by Hurricane Ian just 6 weeks ago. Nicole, the first hurricane in 40 years to strike the United States this late in the year, made landfall under the cover of darkness early Thursday morning.
We're already seeing, as others have already said, significant impacts both on our coastal areas and some of our inland areas. Sewell's Point is seeing a tremendous amount of flooding already. The island has seen overtopping of their dunes.
This is just very rapidly deteriorating right here.
High tides and coastal erosion are a major concern in Volusia County. Rising seawaters have begun to swallow this building on the beach, causing it to collapse. Volusia County officials say more than 20 homes are now unsafe to be in.
A lot of that erosion on the coastline, this has put some of those structures in jeopardy.
Now crews across the state are racing to restore power knocked out by Nicole's destructive winds.
This storm is very large. Even if the eye has passed over your area, it may still be unsafe to go outside due to the heavy winds, flash flooding, and isolated tornadoes.
In Jensen Beach, Florida, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Hurricane Nicole made landfall in Florida just over 2 months after Hurricane Ian, which hit Florida back in September.
Coming up in sports, Ohio women's basketball looks to get their first win of the season against the Longwood Lancers. A preview of the matchup and more when Newswatch returns.
From Nashville, Tennessee's historic War Memorial Auditorium, celebrate songs of America's returning war veterans, co-written with top hit songwriters. Join forces with veterans in collaborative songs, born of hard truths that inspire and present the power of music to change lives. Stories from the front lines in lyric and melody, songwriting with soldiers.
Friday at 10 on WOUB.
14 Gridiron Glory teams remain in the playoffs, and we're covering every last one of them. On Friday, action from Divisions 3 and 5 for Jackson, Sheridan, and more. We preview the Saturday showdowns in Divisions 6 and 7, including Nelsonville, York, and Waterford. And don't forget, voting for Player of the Year is live at woub.org/gridiron. We'll take a closer look at all 5 candidates Friday night at 11:30, but until then, remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Zero and infinity. Mind-bending ideas. Discover how these concepts revolutionized mathematics.
The simplest ideas end up the most influential, the most profound.
Whoa! It's the story of nothing.
Who knew you could learn so much from pizza?
And everything.
It's all one big principle.
Zero to infinity on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
They got so much mud here, it's the first time I ever saw the ground put in for a transfer.
For the men and women of the armed forces, the USO has provided a powerful connection to life back home.
They're putting on shows for people whose lives are on the line.
And it's a moving experience for everyone involved.
It becomes very real to you.
Building morale where it's needed most.
To see troops laugh in the combat zone is pretty remarkable.
On USO for the troops.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back, I'm Sully Beach. The Ohio women's basketball team is back on the court after a season-opening loss to LIU. The Bobcats are less than 10 minutes away from tip-off against the Longwood Lancers from Willett Hall in Farmville, Virginia. Both teams are 0-1 with the Lancers losing their opening game to Delaware. Caitlin Kroll led the Bobcats in their season opener with 15 points and went 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Two other players managed to score double figures during this game. The Ohio hockey team gets set for games 3 and 4 of its 21-game homestand. The Ice Cats literally don't have a road game until February. The team looks to win both games in the Backyard Bash this weekend against the Pitt Panthers. The Bobcats are 10-2 this season, fresh off a 2-game sweep over West Virginia, which they outscored them 14-1. Freshman Luke Reeve is second in the ACHA with 33 points in 12 games. Both games take place at 7 o'clock Friday and Saturday in Bird Arena. We hear tickets are going really fast in this one. And Ohio volleyball is set for its toughest matchup of the season with 2 against the red-hot Ball State Cardinals. Ball State has won 13 in a row and are the defending MAC champions. The Cardinals are first in the MAC in points and hitting percentage, while also having the top 2 players for hitting percentage in Lauren Gillian and Maria Plitt, Ball State's last loss was on September 24th against the Central Michigan. The team has not played a 5-game set since. A sweep by the Bobcats would put them in the top spot in the MAC with 1 conference game remaining. The 2 squads square off in the Convo tomorrow and Saturday. So close, the Bobcats look to bounce back after Saturday, losing on a buzzer beater to Belmont Tuesday, 70-69. The Bobcats play host to Cleveland State in this weekend's home opener. The last time they welcomed in the Vikings, they used NCAA record 41-01 to win 101-46 in 2020. And no, that one was not so close. One person who's still on Ohio from that team is Dwight Wilson, the third, against Belmont, and he led the Bobcats with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Devin Baker and Miles Brown were behind him with 12 and 11 points. Tip-off is set for 1 p.m. Saturday in the Convocation Center. We'll see what the Bobcats can do this time around. Ohio football is 1 win away from winning the MAC East for the first time since 2016, thanks to losses by both Buffalo and Bowling Green yesterday. Ohio gets a chance to clinch Tuesday when it travels to take on the Ball State Cardinals. The Bobcats know who they would be playing in the MAC championship, the Toledo Rockets. They beat Ball State 28-21 yesterday in the MAC West. Quarterback Curtis Work is now 3rd in the nation for passing yards with 3,088 total for the season. Work just needs 215 more yards this season for the record. Coach Tim Albin says his offensive line plays a big part in his success. And I'm Sully Beach, and that's it for sports. Back to the desk. About him, he's like really good. Like, I can't believe it. Like 3rd in the nation for passing yards. What do you guys think about that?
Yes, he had an amazing game Tuesday. I cannot wait to see next week's game.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So now in Athens tonight, you guys, it is getting pretty creepy around here. We do have an overnight low of 53, so it's going to feel like this morning, but we have a lot of that rain coming in from the effects of the hurricane. And as we move into tomorrow, we are going to be seeing a lot of rain all day long, 2 to 3 inches of precipitation with a temperature high of 66. So it's going to drop a little bit with a low of 37. As we move into the rest of the week, the temperatures are going to drop by a landslide. So definitely get ready for these effects of the hurricane.
Today, a spinning top, Light Bright, and Masters of the Universe action figures were inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is part of Strong Museum in Rochester, New York. Those 3 beat out 9 other finalists, including Bingo, Nerf, and Breyer horses. A 23-member committee of toy experts chose the 2022 inductees, including the public, which votes online. A Strong Museum spokesman said the inductees have stood the test of time and influenced culture. Other finalists included Catan, the Pinata, Phase 10, Pound Puppies, Rag Zero, and the Spirograph. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Taylor Mondragon.
And for Sully Beach, Peyton Simjak, I'm Juliana Colant. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy. Information at goldsberrywealth.com. Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC.